Then on Sports Central, we go for our next team prediction of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Clemson Tigers, a team that went 11-3 overall in the 2022 season. Overall, a great season for Clemson, as this team won the ACC once again and made it back to the New Year's Six. But how will this team be in 2023, and whether or not this team will make a return to the college football playoff in the 2023 season is what we'll be talking about here today. We'll be analyzing this team and predict their schedule game by game in this video. Let's get started with a quick recap of 2022. Once again, the record was 11-3 for this team. They started out the season hot. They were 8-0 to start the season, didn't take their first loss until November when they took on Notre Dame on the road. And so you look back to the beginning of the season, I mean, they beat Georgia Tech 41-10 back on the Monday night of week 1. And so they were dominant at the start of the season, had a huge win against Wake Forest on the road in 2 overtimes, won at 51-45, beat NC State by 10. They beat Boston College 31-3, beat Florida State 34-20. It was, turns out, Florida State was a solid team last season, and they've got high expectations, and rightfully so, as we look forward to 2023. Expect Florida State to once again be a big contender in the ACC in 2023. Wouldn't be surprised if they were a big college football playoff contender. Just with the returning production of that team, they're going to be tough in 2023. The next week came back, beat Syracuse, had the bye week, and then went to Notre Dame and took a loss there, 35-14. Just a tough loss there on the road. Night game, and Notre Dame got the best of Clemson there. Came back the next week, beat Louisville, beat Miami 40-10. Dominant win against the talented Miami team there, and then lost to South Carolina 31-30 to finish out the regular season. Now, this was a game where South Carolina, coming off of their huge win over Tennessee, came back the next week and beat Clemson, which was a road game for them. So definitely, I mean, at that point in the season, South Carolina was playing incredible, and so that was obviously a disappointing loss, which in the end it took him out of college football playoff contention for good. But came back in the ACC championship, took care of North Carolina no problem, 39-10, and then lost to Tennessee in the Orange Bowl 31-14. Tennessee was a solid team last season as well. So finished out 11-3, and overall I'd say this team is definitely on the upward trend as we look forward to 2023, and let's do that next. Looking at your roster preview heading into the season, DJ Uiagalelei is gone. He has transferred out to Oregon State, which honestly might be for the better for Clemson. You look at the past couple of years, I mean, this team hasn't been a major national contender like they have been multiple times in the past decade. So, I mean, this team has been in the national championship 4 times in the past 10 years. So, I mean, it's for Uiagalelei, maybe it's a better thing for him to transfer out, and it's up to Cade Klubnik next, which I think he shows tremendous potential. You look at how he played, especially in the ACC championship game when he went in there. I mean, he was impressive when he played. So, I mean, it wasn't quite as good in the Orange Bowl, but he still shows tremendous potential. I mean, I think Clemson with him under center is definitely a much more dangerous team than Uiagalelei. But the backfield looks great. Will Shipley's coming back. Phil Mafah's coming back. The receiving core, Antonio Williams is coming back. You do lose Joseph Nagata and Davis Allen, so you lose your second and third wideouts, but Bo Collins is also coming back, the 4th wideout. So overall, skilled players look pretty good. There's some good depth in the receiving core as well, so I'm really not too concerned. Defensively, you lose a few key players, 2 on the D-line, 3 linebackers. That's my main concern. You lose 1 in the secondary. You also lose 2 on the O-line. So there's a few losses, but Clemson, the way things are looking, I mean, this team is definitely looking stronger as we look forward to 2023. I mean, Will Shipley put up over 1,400 yards of offense in 2022, 15 touchdowns, and he's coming back. I mean, Mafah's coming back as well. There's a lot of good depth on this team, and this team is going to be even more experienced as we look forward to 2023. So, yeah, the past couple of seasons, this team hasn't been the big national contender that we've seen many times in recent years, but I think 2023 could be a return to college football playoff contention for Clemson. Moving on to your transfer portal and recruiting now, DJ Uiagalelei, mentioned him. He's off to Oregon State. Paul Tyson is coming in from Arizona State to add some depth to the quarterback room. Kobe Pace, running back, is off to Virginia. E.J. Williams, receivers, off to Indiana. Kevin Swint, edge rushers, off to Georgia State. Vontae Bentley is off to Colorado, linebacker. And then safety Malcolm Green is off to Virginia. Fred Davis II is off to UCF. So Clemson, this team really doesn't bring in many key players, if any, but they do lose a few players as well, but not really any of these players other than, you could say, Uyunglele had a significant impact on this team. So for Clemson, the transfer portal really doesn't mean too much, but the recruiting has been great. This team is 11th in the country, second in the ACC, got 2 5-stars coming in and 17 4-stars. And because of the recruiting and everything, and I think with Dabo Swinney, we've seen he can have success, and he has brought this team to success as the coach. I mean, you look at how many times this team has been a national contender in recent years. I think the future is still bright for Clemson. I got this team at a 9 out of 10 on the future forecast meter. But that said, let's take a look at the schedule as we look forward to 2023. So you got Duke on the road in week 1. That is on a Monday night there. And Duke, of course, last season, a solid team, got up to 8 wins. Duke surprised a lot last season, but I think 2023 could still be a solid year for them, so definitely a game to keep an eye on there in week 1. Then Charleston Southern at home after that, Florida Atlantic at home as well after that, then Florida State. This is a huge game against Florida State. I could see the Seminoles being a big college football playoff contender. That's a team with as much returning production. I mean, that's going to be a team that's got some experience heading into 2023, and they were solid in 2022, really showed tremendous potential. I mean, Florida State only had a couple of close losses. They could have been even better last season. So Florida State, definitely a dangerous team there. That's going to be a huge game on September 23rd, and then a road trip to Syracuse after that, Wake Forest at home, then your bye week, and then you go to Miami, and then NC State after that. So 2 back-to-back road games here, which could be against dangerous teams. Notre Dame at home, they're going to be a solid team. I see them being a potential contender once again. Georgia Tech at home, North Carolina at home, and then South Carolina on the road to finish out the regular season. So looking at your first 4 games here, Duke on the road. I do think you beat Duke, but I think this is going to be a closer matchup than some might think. I do think a road matchup in week 1 on a Monday night, Duke, more of a sleepy environment. I'm going to take Clemson here for sure. Clemson is the more talented team, but I think Duke hangs in there and makes it a game. But you come back, you beat Charleston Southern and FAU easily, so you're 3-0. And going into the Florida State matchup, which once again is going to be huge. I mean, this is probably the biggest game on Clemson's schedule, and it comes in late September. So good thing is you got them at home. It's probably going to be a night game. That's going to be a positive as well, and I do think Clemson wins it. It's going to be a close one, though. Might be one of the games of the year, honestly. That's going to be an incredible matchup for Florida State. I mean, they will have already played LSU before the Clemson matchup. So, obviously, for Florida State, we're going to find out early on in the season whether or not the Noles are for real. But I've got Clemson at 4-0 to start the season, heading into the Syracuse matchup. I think you beat Syracuse, but that might be a dangerous matchup going on the road there after a very much anticipated Florida State matchup. But I do think you beat Syracuse. I mean, you're much more talented than they are. And then Wake Forest, I see them falling off quite a bit. No more Sam Hartman. Wake Forest is probably going to fall off a decent amount. I think that's an easy win against the Demon Deacons there. Then you got your bye week and then 2 big road games. You got a road trip to Miami, which Hurricanes disappointed a lot in 2022. I don't really expect them to be, say, a big national contender in 2023 or even a big ACC contender. But I do see them being a solid team, maybe 7 to 9 wins. Close matchup, but you beat Miami, and then you go to NC State, which NC State's kind of in the same boat as Miami, I think. And NC State isn't even going to be that outstanding of a team, but I think that's a dangerous game there. The second game of a back-to-back stretch of road games in back-to-back weeks. So going in NC State is a dangerous team still. I do think NC State wins that matchup. And I do think Clemson at some point this season slips up. I don't think they go undefeated, but I do think at some point there's going to be a slip up, whether that's against Miami, NC State, maybe down the road a little bit further against Notre Dame, North Carolina, or even South Carolina. I've got it happening against NC State, and Clemson goes undefeated. Otherwise, they beat Notre Dame, which Notre Dame is going to be, that's going to be a huge matchup. Fighting Irish, I could see being definitely a college football playoff contender once again. Sam Hartman in there. So you're facing a familiar quarterback, but that team is going to be experienced, and they improved a lot over 2022, and I can see them being solid for sure. And then Georgia Tech, easy win. North Carolina, I see this being a closer one as well. Drake May, I like North Carolina quite a bit. Got them at home, though. I do think you beat them in a close one. And then South Carolina on the road, you avenge last season's brutal loss there at home, and you go on the road to Columbia, you beat South Carolina, and you finish out the regular season 11-1. So as I mentioned before, I think there's going to be one point in the season where Clemson does slip up. I don't think this team goes 12-0. Once again, that could be against multiple teams. I've just got it against NC State, but once again, it could be against, Florida State, Notre Dame, North Carolina, South Carolina. We'll see what happens, even Miami. But I got this team at 11-1 for the upcoming season. Looking at the range now, the ceiling is obviously 12-0. I mean, I think this team could definitely go undefeated. There is potential here for Clemson to do so. I've just got 11-1 for the prediction. But I do think, if you're 11-1 heading into the ACC title game and you win that game and you're 12-1 heading into bowl season, I think you got a really strong argument to be in the college football playoff. If last season was any indicator, a one-loss Clemson team last season would have gotten them in the college football playoff, especially with their win over North Carolina like they did in the ACC championship. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, 2 losses takes you out of contention, but 11-1, and if you can go 12-1 with that ACC championship win, that gives you a really strong argument, I think. In that case, I do see this happening, and I think Clemson, at the end of the day, is definitely one of the main contenders for the college football playoff. Kate Klubnik, I like this team and the direction that they are heading as we look forward to 2023. 9-3 is the floor. That is the worst possible record Clemson could have. I got this team between 10 and 12 wins for sure. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this team, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.